so Jerry, okay, so we were talking about Wikipedia, and so we confirmed a Wikipedia fact that Wisconsin is truly where you're from. Here's a secondary Wikipedia fact. So
I had no relations with that woman.
Depends on what you mean by the.
So in Wikipedia again, now we know that you were involved in the art of and at the time heavily involved in the death of Superman storyline, but it says in Wikipedia that it was a joking suggestion that you had made a couple times at like DC retreats.
Yep.
And then eventually, I think it was maybe Louise Simonson or You'll Tell the Story, kind of said, you know what, that's actually a good idea. So you jokingly suggested, you know, why don't we just kill Superman? And everybody laughs, and then you do it again. Is that true?
It's like one of those stories where everybody has a slightly different memory of
Yeah.
it. But I do, we used to have big charts, big blank pieces of paper on the wall that we were expected to fill with very simple information on each issue, because we had 4 Superman comics at the time, and they were marked by month. So when we sat down in the room, we were expected to get at least partway through that, and then maybe if we had a second day, we would finish them. So we'd plot out 6 months worth of stories. At one point, I think one of those meetings, I just kind of looked up, I said, okay, fill in the last one, everyone dies, the end. So we had like, you know, part of the charts filled, and then ideas, you know, it's the idea of like putting money in someone's tip jar so that other people will go, oh, that's where money goes. So putting that, you know, everyone dies, all the ideas then seem to flow a little better. So I did that a couple times, and that became kind of a running gag. And what I heard recently, we just did some interviews for the Death of Superman, I think for a Superman documentary, and one of the thoughts I think Brett Breeding had said was, he remembered me saying it early on because we'd gone into this, I think it was, I'm a little fuzzy on whether it was the second day of one of those 2-day meetings, but we had planned out Superman's wedding and had filled up the chart, and then we're told, like, I believe the next day, it's like, we got to start over because the wedding's on hold. It's better to do that in coordination with the Lois and Clark TV show. So I think it's possible I could have been a little annoyed and I might have said, let's kill him. You know? But I definitely, I think I put that vibe in the room, so I will take credit for whatever part of it exists.
He's the Grim Reaper.
Yeah. If Mitch were there, then Superman wouldn't have come back.
Yeah.
Everybody dies. Everybody dies.
Now it doesn't say this in Wikipedia, but were you responsible for him coming back with a mullet?
No.
Okay, all
Oh,
right.
that's based on
I will say,
John Bogdanov. Right?
Yeah, well, when we were doing these meetings, Bogdanov was, he was living in Maine. It was just that time, like, if you ever think of comic book creators like comic fans, you're never on top of a trend, for example. So in other words, like when long hair and that kind of mullet look started coming in, it took a couple of years for comic people then to have it. So
Oh, okay.
Carlin had long hair in the back, and Bogdanov had a ponytail, and everybody was kind of, you know, following that trend maybe a year past its prime. So when Superman came back, the idea was just that he would have long hair. That was at least, you know, what I was thinking. I was thinking he'd look more like he did in our War World story, where he had a beard, and you know, he just, because he's in a coffin, his hair continued to grow,
Right.
his beard growth.
Yeah, when he comes in.
It wasn't like he came out and he'd just been styled.
No, it's like,
you know, some Hollywood
business in the front,
Right.
Party in the back.
Yeah, you just took my joke, man. That was good.
I was
going to say that would have been like the first Superman title back is Superman, business in the front, party in the back.
Little known thing that Jerry came up with the Brainiac version of that, which was long hair in the front and short in
Yes,
the back,
yeah,
but me not like that look, so they didn't run with
Yeah,
that.
Brainiac had he had long cords in the back,
Exactly.
plugging into his top of his head.
Brainiac 1.5.
No, not Brainiac,
Yeah.
Bizarro.
Oh, you were saying Brainiac.
No,
so I
see,
thought-
I meant Bizarro. See,
Wow, the king of the nerds.
Yeah,
Fatal-
really.
Fatal, fatal mistake.
Now,
Yeah.
this is a question that, you know, especially when you're
Put the thumb on Jerry here.
when you're
Yeah,
when
right.
you're so involved in something that's so
iconic.
culturally significant and iconic in the comic book world, especially with a character that at that point was, what, 50 years old at that point, or you know, did you deal with a lot of, like, and again, I don't mean like violent stuff, but I mean, like, did you receive a lot of fan backlash at that time? Like, if you go to cons and stuff, where did you find that you were getting like yelled at, or people like, did you have people crying in your arms at all at any point?
You know, we really kind of lucked out because the book didn't come out until the con season was over. I mean, it was kind of a fall thing. I think the Death of Superman might have come out in November or something.
I remember it was
I
later in the
honestly
year
don't
because I was out of comics at that point,
Yeah.
and my dad heard about it in the news and was like, "We got to get to the comic book store and get like 30 of these,
Right.
and we're gonna get everybody in the world to go to college on them."
Everybody
Well,
thought that.
Not a good school.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Yeah. No, we did get, in the office where the letters to the editor would go. There were death threats, and I remember
Oh my
Mike
God.
Carlin showing me one that would look like it was written in blood.
Wow.
You got my letter?
Yeah, you shouldn't have cut your hand. I mean,
Exactly. You killed
no, but
Superman.
it was funny. It was like,
Wasn't
you
one of
killed
mine.
Superman, I'm gonna kill you or something.
Wow.
There were
Wow.
some crazy ones, and they had to, because they're a company. They had to report it to the FBI.
Wow.
But I never heard anything followed up on. And we did. You do think about it when you go to a convention around that time. We were kind of swarmed like we were the Beatles in one of those early Beatles movies or something. There were tons of people, and it was a little scary to think. I mean, just because I tend to worry.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, you walk into a show and you're just walking in with your portfolio. It's not like there's a big beefy guy with you to protect you or something, or you don't think you need it either. But it was the crowds were crazy. I signed at the Connecticut Post Mall, was the big one. I did, I think, 4 signings in this one day. I signed for Dream Factory, and I'd signed at like a Blockbuster that they were selling comics at. I signed at I think they had a Trumbull store or something.
Yeah, there was a trouble.
And the Norwalk store, and then I think finished up at the Connecticut Post Mall. And when we got there about 4, there was a line going through the entire mall. And I don't know if the mall's a big.
Oh, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
good
And
quarter
the store
mile,
was in
yeah.
the basement.
Yeah.
So the line went a ways, and then it went upstairs and around, and it snaked around the whole place. I stayed from 4 till like 8,
Yeah.
and because I felt bad, I didn't want to have somebody standing there for hours and not get their signature. But yeah, it was a crazy time. So it just made you more aware of the fact that it definitely connected with people on a level beyond just buying 25 copies of whatever issue.
Yeah.